In 1985, a man wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning. The alarm rings in a small apartment. He sits up slowly. For a moment, he just stares at the wall. Then he gets ready for work. He puts on the same type of clothes he has worn almost every weekday for years. Outside, the city is already waking up. Cars begin to fill the roads. Trains begin to fill with people, and like millions of others, he joins them. He moves through traffic. He stands in line for coffee. He arrives at his office before 8 o'clock in the morning. Another day begins. He works hard. He answers calls. He completes tasks. He stays late when the job requires it. His boss trusts him. His coworkers respect him. He is exactly the type of person society tells us will succeed. Responsible, reliable, disciplined. At the end of the month, his paycheck arrives. And just like always, the money already has somewhere to go. Rent, food, transport, utilities, allowed using natural, human-like voices. A few small rewards for surviving another long month of work. A dinner out, a new phone, a short vacation once a year. The money disappears, but he does not worry, because he believes something very simple, something most people believe. If you work hard, if you stay consistent, if you follow the rules, life will eventually reward you. So he keeps going. The months turn into years, the years turn into decades. 10 years pass, then 20. Now the mornings feel heavier. The alarm clock sounds louder than it used to, but the routine continues. Wake up. Commute, work, pay bills, repeat, and somewhere deep down, a quiet thought begins to appear. A thought he tries not to think about too often, because the life he imagined when he was younger still feels far away. He worked hard. He followed every rule. He did everything society said would lead to success. Yet somehow he is still running in the same cycle, still working, still paying bills. Repeat, and somewhere deep down, a quiet thought begins to appear. A thought he tries not to think about too often, because the life he imagined when he was younger still feels far away. He worked hard. He followed every rule. He did everything society said would lead to success. Yet somehow, he is still running in the same cycle, still working, still paying bills, still waiting for the moment when everything finally changes, but the moment never arrives. Now here is the strange part. This story may sound like the life of one unlucky person, but it is not. This is the story of millions of people, people who wake up early, people who work hard, people who follow the rules they were taught since childhood. Study hard, get a stable job, save money, avoid risks, stay safe. For decades, these rules have been repeated again and again. Parents teach them to their children. Schools reinforce them. Society celebrates them. And yet something about this system does not seem to work the way people expect. Because if these rules truly created financial freedom, then millions of hardworking people would already be living it. But they are not. Instead, many people spend 40 years working, only to discover that freedom is still far away. So a dangerous question begins to appear, a question most people never stop to ask. What if the problem was never hard work? What if the problem was never discipline? What if the real problem was the rules themselves? Because the uncomfortable truth is this: most people are not broke because they are lazy. They are not broke because they lack effort. And they are not broke because they lack intelligence. Most people stay broke because they are following a set of financial rules that were never designed to make them wealthy. Rules that quietly keep people busy. Rules that keep them working. Rules that keep them moving, but never truly moving forward. And the most surprising part of all is that most people never realize it. They believe they are building their future, but in reality, they are trapped inside a system they cannot see. And once you begin to understand how this system works, you start to notice something that changes everything. The difference between people who stay broke and the people who quietly build wealth is not always about working harder. It is about understanding the rules of the game. Because the moment you see the game clearly, you realize something most people never discover. The path that leads to freedom is very different from the path most people are told to follow. Now pause for a moment. Think about the beginning of a new year. It always feels the same. A new calendar appears, the old year ends, and for a brief moment it feels like life is giving you another chance. You start making plans. You start thinking about the person you want to become. You promise yourself that things will change. This will be the year you become more disciplined. This will be the year you stop wasting time. This will be the year you finally save money. This will be the year you finally move forward. For a moment, the motivation feels powerful. You imagine a different life. A life where you wake up early with energy. A life where you focus on your goals. A life where your hard work finally begins to pay off. You imagine becoming more organized, more focused, more successful. And deep down, you believe it is possible because you are not lazy. You have dreams, you have ideas, you have plans for your future. But slowly, something begins to change. The days begin to pass. Monday turns into Tuesday. Tuesday turns into Friday. Now pause for a moment. Think about the beginning of a new year. It always feels the same. A new calendar appears, the old year ends, and for a brief moment it feels like life is giving you another chance. You start making plans, you start thinking about the person you want to become. You promise yourself that things will change. You still go to work, you still complete your responsibilities, you still try your best to manage your life. But the progress you imagined never really appears. Weeks pass, then months pass. And slowly, a strange feeling begins to grow, a feeling that is difficult to explain. You begin to feel stuck. Not because you are doing nothing, but because it feels like your effort is not moving your life forward. You wake up, you work, you pay bills, you repeat the routine again and again. Day after day, week after week, year after year. And the cycle becomes so normal that you almost stop noticing it. Until one day you begin to look around. You see people online talking about success. You see people building businesses. You see people traveling the world. You see people living the type of life you once imagined for yourself. And a quiet question appears in your mind. How did they do it? Because you are working hard too. You are trying. You are doing the things you were taught. You studied. You found work. You try to stay responsible. Yet somehow the results feel very different. Money comes in, but money goes out. Time passes, but your life feels almost the same. Sometimes it feels like you are running as fast as possible, but the finish line never gets closer. And deep down, another feeling begins to appear. A feeling that maybe something is wrong. Maybe you are missing something important. Maybe there is a rule about success that nobody ever explained. Because the truth is, millions of people experience this same feeling. People who want to improve their lives, people who want to build wealth, people who want to escape the cycle of stress and financial pressure, yet somehow remain trapped in routines that never seem to change their future. They start with motivation. They set goals. They make promises to themselves. But slowly the system around them pulls them back into the same patterns. Patterns of distraction. Patterns of comfort. Patterns of small decisions that seem harmless in the moment, but slowly shape the direction of their lives. And over time, these small decisions begin to create a quiet trap, a trap that keeps people busy, working busy, paying bills busy, surviving the next month, but rarely moving toward true freedom. And the most frustrating part is this. Most people blame themselves. They believe they lack discipline. They believe they lack talent. They believe they simply did not try hard enough. But the real reason many people feel stuck is much deeper, because the forces that keep people trapped are often invisible. Invisible habits. Invisible beliefs. Invisible rules about money, work, and success. Rules that shape how people think. Rules that shape how people spend their time. Rules that shape what people believe is possible. And when those rules remain hidden, the cycle continues. Another year begins. New goals appear. New promises are made. And once again, people believe that this time things will change. But without understanding the deeper patterns behind success, the same story repeats year after year, effort after effort, dream after dream. Until one day, many people look back and realize something painful. They were busy for most of their lives. They worked hard. They followed the rules. They tried to do everything right. But somehow, they were never truly moving forward. And that realization is the moment when many people begin asking the most important question of all: if hard work alone is not the answer, then what is? You've spent years chasing results that never seem to come. You followed advice, tried new routines, and pushed yourself harder, only to end up in the same place, frustrated, confused, and questioning why success feels just out of reach. And that's exactly why you're here. Because deep down, you know that the difference between the life you're living now and the life you dream of isn't luck. It isn't connections. It isn't even raw talent. It's habits. Simple, invisible patterns that the most successful people in the world follow without thinking. Patterns so subtle, so hidden that most people never notice them, never even realize they exist. But today you will. In the next few minutes, I'm going to take you step by step through the 7 psychological habits that separate the people who achieve extraordinary results from everyone else. You're going to see how they think, how they act, and how they turn obstacles into opportunities when the rest of the world sees only walls. By the time this video is over, you'll understand what's holding you back and exactly how to break free. Not through theory, not through empty motivation, but through proven patterns that anyone can apply starting today. And if you follow along closely, you won't just watch success happen, you'll feel it happening. Every story, every example, every insight in this video is designed to do one thing: open your mind to the possibility that your current reality isn't fixed, that change is closer than you think, and that the habits you adopt in the next hour could shape the next decade of your life. This isn't about fluff. This isn't about think positive and hope. This is about understanding the psychology of achievement and using it to take control, step by step, habit by habit. And once you see these patterns in action, you'll never look at success, or yourself, the same way again. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was barely recognizable. Its shelves were cluttered with products that nobody wanted. Its brand, once a symbol of innovation, had faded into a quiet desperation. Investors had lost faith. Employees had lost hope. The world was moving on, and Apple, at that moment, was a company teetering on the edge of collapse. But Steve Jobs, he didn't panic. He didn't follow the path that most people would take, cutting corners, chasing short-term profits, or giving up. Instead, he studied every failure, every misstep, every lost opportunity. He looked at the company not as it was, but as it could be. And what he saw wasn't just a struggling business. It was a chance to rebuild something extraordinary. Jobs began making choices that most people would have called impossible. He focused on a few products instead of many. He insisted on simplicity, on design, on experience, when the world was obsessed with quantity. He demanded excellence in every detail, from the curve of a laptop's corner to the feel of the interface. People thought he was unreasonable. Many quit. Many doubted him. But step by step, decision by decision, he turned Apple from a near-bankrupt company into the most valuable and influential technology company in the world. And here's the part that most people miss. He didn't just rely on talent. He didn't just rely on luck. He relied on habits, the habits of clarity, focus, and relentless action. He understood that the ordinary, repeated consistently, becomes extraordinary. And while the world watched the products, iMac, iPod, iPhone, they were only seeing the surface. The real story was invisible. It was in the daily choices, the mindset, the small actions that built unstoppable momentum. Imagine standing in Jobs' shoes at that time. Every decision felt like the difference between survival and failure. Every meeting carried the weight of millions. Every day demanded that he push beyond doubt, beyond fear, beyond the voices telling him it was impossible. And yet, he persisted, because he had a vision that outweighed the risk, a discipline that outweighed the chaos, and a curiosity that outweighed the fear. By the time the first iMac shipped, Apple was no longer just a company. It had become a story the world would remember, a story that teaches something crucial. Success is not about luck, timing, or even brilliance alone. It's about the habits, choices, and relentless focus you apply when the stakes are at their highest. And this is exactly the point of today's video. Just like Jobs, you can take control of your reality. You can understand the patterns of success, the invisible habits, and the small decisions that create extraordinary outcomes. The story isn't over when failure looms, it's just beginning. And the next 7 minutes of this video will show you how to start writing your own story. Discipline. It's a word that sounds simple, almost boring. But behind its quiet, unassuming nature lies the single most powerful force separating people who succeed from people who merely survive. Discipline is not about willpower in short bursts. It is not about forcing yourself to grind when everything inside you screams to stop. Discipline is about building a life where the right actions happen automatically, without constant struggle, without endless debate inside your own head. Most people fail at discipline, not because they lack desire, not because they lack talent, but because they try to do it all at once. They look at their life and see mountains of tasks, obligations, and distractions. They attempt to be disciplined across every area, from health to work to relationships, and the mind, overwhelmed and exhausted, simply gives up. The result? Procrastination, frustration, and the quiet, soul-crushing feeling that life is slipping by. The truth is, discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained, shaped, and mastered. Start small. Begin with one habit that matters more than anything else. It could be showing up at your desk at the same time every day. It could be refusing to check your phone for the first hour after waking. It could be writing down the 3 most important tasks and completing them before anything else. Master that first habit and the rest become easier. Look at the people who have changed the world. Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. They didn't rely on random motivation. They relied on a structured approach to life where their most critical actions were protected, prioritized, and repeated without fail. Discipline gave them leverage over time. It allowed them to stack small actions day after day into results so massive they seemed like luck. But it was never luck, it was habit. And here's the subtle secret: discipline doesn't punish, discipline frees. It creates space for creativity, for innovation, for risk-taking. Without it, you are constantly reacting, constantly chasing, constantly exhausted. With it, you control your own momentum, your own energy, your own life. Practical advice: pick the one habit that will move the needle the most in your life. Break it down into steps so small that failure is nearly impossible. Do it consistently for 30 days, then add the next habit. Over time, these small actions compound, like invisible deposits in a bank account that suddenly bursts into wealth. That is the power of discipline when wielded correctly. But here's the thing: discipline alone is not enough. Most people try to use it like a hammer, forcing results that never come. And the real reason most people stay stuck, despite all their effort and self-control, has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with talent or even the number of hours they work. We'll uncover that hidden reason in just a moment, and once you see it, everything you thought you knew about success will shift. Most people think success is about setting goals. Bigger goals, clearer goals, harder goals. And for a moment it makes sense. After all, goals give direction. Goals give purpose. Goals give something to chase. But here's the problem: goals alone are fragile. They are promises you make to yourself that can shatter at the first sign of resistance. They can be forgotten, delayed, or abandoned when life gets in the way. The truth, as James Clear has taught us, is far more subtle and far more powerful. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. A system is the invisible structure that guides your actions day after day. It is the design of your environment, the habits you repeat, the routines that shape your identity. If your systems are weak, no goal, no matter how big, can carry you to the life you want. But if your systems are strong, you create a gravitational pull towards success almost effortlessly. Take a moment to imagine this. A person who wants to get fit. They set a goal: lose 20 pounds in 3 months. Every morning they wake up motivated, energized, ready to chase that target. But without a system, without a concrete habit like walking 10,000 steps, tracking calories, preparing meals ahead, they will falter. Life interrupts, motivation fades, and the goal is abandoned. Now imagine someone else. They don't just set a goal, they create a system. They structure their environment so healthy choices are easy. They make unhealthy options inconvenient. They design their day so that progress happens automatically, almost without thinking. The result: they don't have to rely on fleeting willpower or bursts of motivation. Progress happens because their life is aligned with their objective. Systems don't just create results, they shape identity. When you repeat an action consistently, it sends a message to your brain: this is who I am. You are no longer someone chasing a goal, you are the type of person who achieves. And identity is far more powerful than goals because it endures. Goals can be completed or abandoned. Identity persists, and this is why so many people fail without understanding it. Now let's reset. I want you to think about a moment when you were fully absorbed, completely focused on something that mattered. Maybe it was a project, a book, a conversation, a personal breakthrough. Remember how alive you felt, how the hours disappeared, how every action had purpose. That is what harnessing attention feels like. That is what the most successful people leverage every single day. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. If your attention is your most powerful resource, how are you spending it? Are you letting it scatter? Are you handing it to content designed to entertain you, not transform you? Or are you reclaiming it, focusing it on the invisible patterns that will shape your next 10 years? Because the next lessons, the principles that follow, aren't just about working harder. They're about directing attention, controlling energy, and designing a life where progress isn't accidental. And if you can learn to command your attention like the few who truly succeed, the world doesn't just open up, it bends toward you. We live in a world built for distraction. Every ping, every notification, every swipe is designed to pull your mind away from what matters. And most people, nearly all, fall victim to it. This isn't a failure of willpower. It's a failure of understanding how the brain actually works. Your brain is wired for instant reward. A like, a notification, a short video, each one triggers a tiny hit of dopamine, the chemical that signals pleasure and reward. And over time, the brain begins to crave it. We become addicted not to the content itself, but to the feeling of distraction. Focus becomes uncomfortable, patience feels unbearable, deep work feels unnatural. Here's the paradox. The very thing that can make your life extraordinary, focus, is also the thing that feels hardest to achieve in this environment. And yet, focus is the single most valuable skill anyone can cultivate. Without it, habits falter, systems fail, and goals, no matter how big, remain just dreams. So how do you reclaim it? How do you bend your attention back to what matters? Step 1. Identify your deep work zone. Find the time of day when your energy is highest and distractions are lowest. It could be early morning, late night, or a block of 2 hours midday. Protect this time fiercely. Treat it as sacred. Step 2. Eliminate dopamine traps. Close social media apps. Silence notifications. Put your phone in another room. Small adjustments like these may seem minor, but they remove the invisible friction that slowly erodes focus. Step 3. Break tasks into micro-goals. Focus isn't about grinding for hours at a time without pause. It's about creating small, actionable milestones that allow the brain to reward itself naturally. Complete one micro-goal, feel the win, and move to the next. Momentum compounds faster than willpower ever could. Step 4. Use the 2-minute start. The hardest part of focus is starting. Commit to just 2 minutes of work on a task. Once you start, the brain engages, attention locks in, and often you'll continue far longer than the 2 minutes. Step 5. Track and reflect. At the end of each day, review where your attention went. Were you pulled into distractions? Did you protect your focus? Every insight is a blueprint for improvement. Now imagine stacking these moments: 2-minute starts, distraction-free blocks, micro-goals repeated day after day. What seems impossible in a single day becomes inevitable over a month, a year, a lifetime. The accumulation of focused attention is like a silent engine driving extraordinary results. Here's the deeper insight most people miss. Time is not the constraint, attention is. 2 hours of unfocused work is worth less than 30 minutes of pure, undisturbed focus. And mastering this skill doesn't just improve productivity, it transforms the very architecture of your life. Because once you learn to command your focus, distractions lose their power. Motivation becomes unnecessary. Progress happens automatically. And the life that once felt out of reach suddenly becomes the only possible outcome. Now here's the truth nobody talks about. You could understand everything we've covered so far, discipline, systems, focus, and still see little change in your life. You could implement every tip, follow every habit, and push harder than ever before. And yet, one hidden habit, one invisible pattern can quietly destroy all your progress. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't make a loud entrance. It hides in plain sight, disguised as normal behavior, small compromises, little indulgences you think don't matter. But it accumulates, silently eroding momentum, undermining effort, and keeping you stuck in the exact same cycle you've been trying to escape. Most people never see it coming. They double down on effort, thinking motivation or willpower is the missing ingredient. They stay busy, they stay consistent, but the results never match the work. And the frustration grows, slowly, relentlessly, until they give up or settle for less than what they could have had. But here's the thing. Once you identify it, once you expose it, the path forward becomes shockingly clear. You gain leverage over your own mind, over your habits, over your outcomes. You turn what was invisible into your greatest advantage. And that's exactly what the next section will reveal. A principle so simple, so overlooked, that it separates the people who climb higher than anyone else from the crowd that never leaves the starting line. Pay close attention, because missing this could mean starting over or finally breaking through. Most people want success, but almost nobody is willing to wait for it. They chase the instant, the immediate, the quick win. And in doing so, they sabotage themselves in ways they don't even notice. This is the hidden trap of human nature, the inability to delay gratification. In the 1960s, a simple experiment at Stanford revealed a truth that still echoes today. Children were placed in a room with a single marshmallow. They were told, eat it now and that's it, or wait 15 minutes and they would get a second marshmallow as a reward. Some children could wait, some could not. Decades later, researchers found that the ability to wait, the ability to resist immediate temptation, was correlated with far-reaching success. Higher grades, better careers, stronger relationships. Those 15 minutes of self-control were not just about candy. They were about the way the mind approaches delayed reward, the invisible muscle of patience that separates fleeting effort from sustained achievement. Now here's the difficult truth. Life rarely offers marshmallows on a plate. Success is not immediate. Wealth is not immediate. Mastery is not immediate. The world is filled with distractions designed to give you instant gratification. The phone, the notifications, the endless content that entertains but never transforms. And most people succumb, mistaking temporary pleasure for progress. The ones who win, truly win, understand this. They structure their lives to favor delayed reward. They make choices that are uncomfortable today because they understand the payoff tomorrow will be extraordinary. They resist the pull of the immediate because they are anchored to a vision far greater than any fleeting pleasure. Practical steps to build this muscle. 1. Start small. Delay a small pleasure. Don't check your phone for the first 30 minutes after waking. Skip a snack that isn't necessary. Stretch your patience in little ways until it becomes a habit. 2. Visualize the reward. Keep your future success vivid in your mind. Picture the life you want, the results you seek. Every time temptation arises, ask, does this bring me closer or farther from that vision? 3. Automate decision-making. Remove choices that lead to immediate gratification. If you want to eat healthier, don't buy junk food. If you want to focus, block distracting apps. The environment you build is the scaffolding that makes delayed reward possible. 4. Reframe discomfort. Understand that resistance, discomfort, and waiting are signals that growth is happening. The mind naturally seeks ease, but ease rarely produces excellence. Learn to welcome tension as a signal of progress. Delayed gratification is more than a skill. It is a lens through which the world can be seen differently. It changes how you value time, effort, and results. It transforms small, daily choices into compounding power that shapes entire lives. And the remarkable thing is this: anyone can train it. Anyone can build it. But most will not, because it requires patience when the world is shouting for instant pleasure. Up until now, we've talked about discipline, systems, focus, and the power of delayed gratification. These lessons are essential, yes, but they are incomplete. Because here's the truth that few ever grasp: lasting change does not come from doing more, it comes from becoming more. The most successful people in the world don't just change what they do, they change who they are. They don't merely add new habits, they reconstruct their identity. And this is where most people fail. They try to force actions from a self that hasn't evolved, and the mind resists. The old identity pulls them back, silently sabotaging progress. Up until now, we've talked about discipline, systems, focus, and the power of delayed gratification. These lessons are essential, yes, but they are incomplete. Because here's the truth that few ever grasp: lasting change does not come from doing more, it comes from becoming more. The most successful people in the world don't just change what they do, they change who they are. They don't merely add new habits, they reconstruct their identity. And this is where most people fail. They try to force actions from a self that hasn't evolved, and the mind resists. The old identity pulls them back, silently sabotaging progress. Think about it. If someone sees themselves as someone who procrastinates, every attempt to work diligently feels unnatural. It's a mismatch between action and identity. And no matter how strong their willpower, the old identity will always fight back. Identity change flips that dynamic entirely. Instead of forcing new behavior, you transform the lens through which you see yourself. You ask a simple question: who do I want to become? And then every decision, every action, every habit is aligned with that identity. Not with a fleeting goal, not with external pressure, but with the person you are becoming. Consider this. A person doesn't run a marathon simply by telling themselves, I want to finish a marathon. They become a runner. They wake up, they train consistently, they endure discomfort. The identity carries the behavior, and the behavior reinforces the identity, creating a feedback loop that becomes unstoppable. Practical steps to begin this transformation. 1. Define your new identity. Don't focus on outcomes. Focus on the type of person you want to be. Not I want to make $100,000, but I am the type of person who manages money wisely, invests consistently, and takes calculated risks. 2. Act in alignment with that identity daily. Even the smallest actions count. Small victories reinforce identity. Each step is a vote for the person you are becoming. 3. Remove evidence of the old identity. The world constantly reinforces who you were. Change your environment, your routines, your triggers, so that your old self no longer has a foothold. 4. Use identity-based reinforcement. Every time you act in line with your new identity, acknowledge it. This is not about praise from others, it's about internal alignment. Your brain learns slowly but powerfully, this is who I am. Here's the subtle yet seismic truth. Habits follow identity, not the other way around. You can force yourself to act for a while, but without identity, motivation eventually fades. But once identity shifts, change is no longer a struggle. It becomes inevitable. The person you are becoming naturally takes the actions that produce results. And that is why this principle is the most powerful of all. It doesn't just give you tools, it doesn't just give you tactics. It rewires the very foundation of your life. Because when your identity aligns with your vision, obstacles shrink, distractions fade, motivation becomes redundant, action becomes automatic, and the life you once imagined begins to materialize, not as a distant dream, but as an unfolding reality. The most successful people don't merely change their habits, they change their identity. And once you grasp that, once you internalize that truth, nothing can stop the momentum you create. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself 5 years from now. Picture your life in vivid detail. The apartment or house you live in, the people you spend time with, the work you do every day, the energy you wake up with, or the exhaustion that drags you through each morning. Now listen closely. Everything you see, every detail, every circumstance, every success or failure is being built right now. Not in some distant future, not in a random twist of fate. Right now. With every choice you make, every habit you repeat, every thought you feed your mind, you are laying bricks. Bricks that will build either the life you dream of, or the life you settle for because you never dared to act. 5 years from now, if you scroll your phone instead of focusing, if you chase comfort instead of growth, if you rely on willpower instead of identity, you will wake up in a life that looks familiar, safe, ordinary, but unfulfilled. And the quiet regret will be crushing, because you will know you had the power to do differently. But here's the flip side. 5 years from now, if you take control today, if you direct your habits, your attention, your focus, your choices, you will create momentum so powerful that the life you once imagined as distant, impossible, or out of reach will become your reality. A life where your mornings are deliberate, where your energy is abundant, where your work and your results reflect the person you have chosen to become. And the truth is harsh but liberating. The difference between these two realities is not luck. It is not talent. It is not timing. It is the accumulation of invisible choices, the small, consistent acts of discipline, the systems you design, the focus you protect, the patience you cultivate, the identity you embrace. So I ask you to pause and reflect. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Are you willing to let the pull of comfort, distraction, and habit dictate your future? Or are you ready to confront the uncomfortable truth that the life you want is waiting, but only for the person who shows up today, fully aware, fully intentional, fully relentless? Because the moment to act is now. Every second you hesitate, the life you dream of drifts further away. And every second you choose purpose over distraction, you forge a path toward freedom, mastery, and extraordinary results. The choice may feel invisible, small, insignificant, but it is not. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. And the wake-up moment is this: if you do not act now, nothing changes. But if you do act, everything can change. Let's step back for a moment and look at the path we've walked together. We started by uncovering the invisible forces that hold most people back. Lack of discipline, scattered focus, the pull of immediate gratification. Then we explored the power of systems, habits, and identity, showing how the smallest, repeated actions can compound into extraordinary results. We've seen that focus is not about willpower, but about reclaiming attention. That delayed gratification is not a punishment, but the hidden lever of long-term success. That identity, not goals, not luck, is the foundation upon which every lasting achievement is built. And we've faced the wake-up moment, realizing that 5 years from now, your life will be the product of the choices you make today, not the ones you wish for tomorrow. Here's the truth you need to carry with you. Success is not magic. It is not sudden. It is not a burst of motivation that fades by sunset. Success is the accumulation of deliberate, consistent action. It is the invisible architecture of habits, systems, and identity that align every day toward the life you intend to create. The most successful people don't wait for motivation. They don't chase luck. They design their environment, control their focus, resist immediate reward, and become the person capable of achieving what most only dream about. So ask yourself this: are you ready to stop drifting? Are you ready to take control of the choices no one else sees, the habits no one else understands, the moments that define who you will be 5 years from now? Because every action you take, every habit you reinforce, every choice you make now is a vote for your future self. And your future self, whether fulfilled or frustrated, will be shaped entirely by what you do next. The lessons are clear. The path is visible. The opportunity is now. Your life will follow the design you choose, or it will follow the default patterns of distraction and compromise. The decision is yours. Success isn't about motivation. It's about the habits you build, the discipline you practice, the identity you embrace, and the choices you make when nobody is watching. And if you start today, truly start, there is nothing that can stop the momentum you create. Because the extraordinary life you've imagined is not somewhere out there. It begins with the person you decide to become in this very moment. Before we part, take a moment and consider this. The journey we've explored together, discipline, focus, habits, identity, delayed gratification, is not just theory. It is a roadmap, a blueprint for change. A quiet, invisible set of principles that, when applied, can transform your life in ways most people never even imagine. And here's the truth. The people who succeed, the ones who rise above mediocrity, don't wait for inspiration. They actively seek knowledge. They absorb lessons. They align themselves with guidance that challenges them, stretches them, and refuses to let them settle for less. If you feel that spark right now, the recognition that your life can be different, that the momentum toward greatness can begin today, then you don't have to wait. You don't have to figure it out alone. There are resources, guidance, and strategies waiting to help you master the habits, the discipline, and the identity that will define your future. So if you want more videos that strip away distractions, reveal the unseen patterns of success, and equip you to take control of your focus, your habits, and your life, then subscribe. Not for entertainment, not for fleeting motivation, but to start leveling up every single day, to reclaim your attention, to build momentum, to step deliberately toward the life you know you are capable of creating. Because the extraordinary life you've imagined, it isn't waiting. It's being built right now in the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the knowledge you apply. And subscribing, that's one step closer to taking command of it.